Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused and the Original Hooters. I am Sam Holt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Derek Tate. Tate, how are you on this lovely Saturday?
Lovely Saturday. That is the first on full-time baby duty. So baby Kennedy, is in the other room, and I've got to keep an eye on her. I've got the baby monitor fired up right next to the computer. So just in case I have to take a pit stop, everybody knows why. I'm going to call it a Baby K commercial.
Love it. Love it. And guys, I will try and keep you guys entertained while Tate is distracted by Baby K, if that so happens. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Today, we are going to be covering the latest news, which is the trade that happened this week with Carson Wentz going to the Colts, and Jalen Hurts is now the starting quarterback officially for the Eagles, and the fallout from that. Tate, your initial reaction when you heard the news?
Initial reaction, if I am a Carson Wentz dynasty owner, I'm doing a backflip. Because really, I feel as if this is the best spot that he could have landed in, given that we knew the Philadelphia Eagles were going to trade Carson Wentz. You knew he wasn't coming back to Philly after how that ended in 2020. So you look at it from an outsider's perspective before we actually dig into the X's and O's. He's going somewhere to a coach that he's familiar with, an offensive system he's familiar with. Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator the first 2 seasons he was in the National Football League, including his 2017 campaign where he was an MVP candidate. You also look, they've got one of the best offensive lines, spearheaded by who I believe is the best offensive lineman in the league, and Quentin Nelson. The dude is nasty. And you've also got a guy who emerged at running back last year and looks like a special talent in Jonathan Taylor, and also a pass-catching specialist in Nyheim Hines, and some young talent at wide receiver with Michael Pittman Jr. We also have not seen, I think, the best days from Paris Campbell yet. I think that this bodes very well, and not to mention also a pretty good defensive unit on the other side of the football. It's also a softer media market than it is in Philly, which is cutthroat. I mean, they boo Santa Claus there. So once he fell out of favor, you knew it was kind of an uphill battle. I think it's a great landing spot. As far as fantasy perspectives go, it's hard to really project because the guy I saw in 2020 is not the guy that I remember in 2017 that I thought had such a promising career ahead of him. I think it's all between the ears for Carson Wentz, and certainly if there's anybody that can kind of get him back on track, it's Frank Reich.
I agree with that, and I think that the coaching change is definitely going to be a big help for him, but also just having that protection. I feel like Carson Wentz, like you said, it's between the ears for him, but when he doesn't have the time to think about the play, man, does it fall apart quickly. I think that behind that offensive line, he is going to be able to have far more success.
So one thing I noticed about Carson Wentz was, didn't it seem like he was pressing a little bit last year? I mean, we saw him have to make a lot of plays at the end of 2019 to try to get them into the postseason. Certainly, they were rolling out like Greg Ward as his number 1 wide receiver. I mean, they had all kinds of durability issues, and they had some of those issues again in 2020. But he played a lot of hero ball. Instead of playing within the confines of the system and getting the ball out of his hands, he would hold it. He would try to buy time, which is kind of what Carson Wentz did back in 2017, and it worked out really well. It's just, it kind of unraveled multiple layers to this. Like Doug Peterson certainly didn't do him any favors with some of his play calling. And then, Carson Wentz has never really been like the model of mechanics as far as like his fundamentals, throwing the football and stuff within the pocket. So you saw all of those things kind of come to a head in 2020. So he needs a fresh start, and certainly a guy like Frank Reich, who I thought did a great job with Jacoby Brissett, and even Phillip Rivers, who seemed kind of like on his last leg. I think the man is able to get production out of the quarterback position dating back to his 2017 season with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm just a little bit concerned about the weapons. I mean, obviously, you've got Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, but I'm just wondering if that's enough. Pittman Jr., there were some flashes, there was some good stuff, but do you see them also making another wide receiver move in this offseason to try and shore up that offense? Because I just don't know if those guys are going to be enough weapons for Wentz.
So now it becomes a little bit interesting. I do think that they could bring on a veteran wide receiver. I mean, there should be
because are we going to have Hilton next year is the other question.
Yeah, there's a couple of names and interesting thoughts that go into the free agent market when it comes to bringing on a veteran presence, whether it's, keeping T.Y. Hilton or whether it's bringing in like maybe Corey Davis, A.J. Green may be a free agent, Antonio Brown might be on the market. Like there's some options as far as the wide receiver goes and as far as free agent market. So I think it's possible. They could also build through the draft. I think that the third round draft price was also pretty, like a third round pick this year and a conditional second that could turn into a first if Wentz ends up hitting. I think it was a pretty fair price. It's just that contract is such a drag for any team, and the Eagles found that out the hard way, who are eating like $33 million worth of dead money this year.
Yeah, completely. Guys, I'm going to get to you in the chat real quick. Tim Bria joining us. He says, as an Eagles fan, I have a love-hate relationship with this trade. I get it. As always, we have Will Jenkins. Dude, I love you so much. Thank you for always tuning in. Will is the best.
What up, Will?
Tim also saying, I'm ready for change in Philly. I think Hurts can be really good, especially if we can get Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith. Love that. And we've also got Alex joining us. What's up from Austin, Texas? I hope you're staying warm. I know Texas is cold right now. Appreciate you tuning in. He says, I traded for Wentz after Hurts became the starter. This was the best case scenario. I think a lot of, like you said earlier, dynasty owners of Wentz are very happy with this move because this is last-ditch effort for success for Wentz with this situation. I mean, he has a lot to prove. That's kind of adding to my concern with his weapons. I know that he's got a lot of really young, good talent at his disposal, but I just hope that maybe one more veteran presence could maybe help with that.
One more could probably help. I still think he's fine if Paris Campbell can stay healthy, because I actually was very encouraged from what I saw from Paris Campbell early in the year before, of course, he went down via injury. I mean, this dude just can't stay healthy through the first 2 years. He's snake bitten as far as injuries go. But if he can stay healthy, that's a nice young combination that I think that they can develop. And of course, Frank Reich gets creative using his tight ends as well, whether it be, Trey Burton or Jack Doyle, or they bring back Mo Alley Cox. There's some pieces, but make no mistake, I think that the thing that you're going to see them do is build through the running game, build off play action, and ride what is one of the best offensive lines in the league, and lean on a defense that I thought took some significant strides in the right direction. I think Wentz, this is a make it or break it, though. Because if he can't succeed with this offensive line, with this running back, with this coach, with this offensive system, then this could be very well his last stop in the National Football League.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, when we're talking, you and I have both picked up on more of these 2 QB league formats over last year, and I think both of us are pretty big fans of that format. For that format in particular, where do you see yourself targeting if you're targeting Carson Wentz?
Late draft. I think that he's someone that I'm not going to project as a top 8 quarterback. I think he's a streamer to me. So in a streamer anywhere, unless you're in like a 2 QB league, even then I'm still targeting the back end of the draft, probably after round 10 for Carson Wentz. He's a nice flyer. And really, I actually kind of like the guy in Philadelphia a little bit more that right now is slated to start, in Jalen Hurts,
which we'll move on to next. But yeah, with Carson Wentz, though the new move, I think, is exciting for him, for his career, for the potential that he could have this coming season I'm not letting that trade bump his draft value way higher than I would have had him before. If I get him late in a 2 QB league, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm going to be pretty happy with that value, but I'm also not intentionally target him early, if that makes sense. Yeah,
and some will point to maybe the offensive line and the improvement in his situation, which are valid, reasons to be optimistic. I'm just not going. There's other late round quarterbacks that I'd rather have than Carson Wentz, personally. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Tim also jumping in the chat and saying, I have a feeling that Jonathan Taylor could have a very Alvin Kamara type season where he's getting short passes in the backfield and running a lot too. I hope so.
That could be great. I would love to see that. Although I am really excited for that reason to have Naheem Hines there, a back that has proven himself to be an amazing pass catcher. And
Right.
in that short frame offense, I think that he'll be really useful for Carson.
Baby K fantasy break. So Tim Bria's got another one in there as well.
I will get to this while Tate tends to baby K. Thanks, guys, again for tuning in. If you have any dynasty questions, too, related to this trade, or you want to throw some of those at me while Tate tends to his little newborn girl, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Tim saying, if Carson is getting pressured, he could dump it off to Jonathan Taylor. Yes, I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be a huge asset to Carson Wentz in this system for that reason. You know, if he feels like he is getting a lot of pressure, which I don't imagine him getting behind that offensive line, he could easily dump it off to Taylor. I think there's a lot of different ways they can use Wentz's talents. I think what's really important here is that Wentz is going to have that protection that I think fans of his are going to be very excited for him to have. He hasn't had that time, you know, in an offense to really work and get moving in a system. I feel like based on his injuries as well, he's had to, you know, jump off really quickly and he makes a lot of mistakes. Hopefully he can get the time in the pocket with this offensive line that he's been needing.
Are we talking about Carson Wentz still?
Yeah, no, we're just wrapping it up on him before we jump over to Jalen Hurts. How is baby Kennedy?
He is good. He, of course, operates on her own schedule. So when she wants attention, she gets it. So, you know, of course, Fantasy Daddy is here. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to say fantasy.
Don't say that again. Nope.
No, it doesn't sound right. We're ixing that nickname. So when we're talking about, though, we flip the coin, though, to Philadelphia.
Yeah, let's talk Jalen Hurts, because the other side of the coin is obviously with Wentz out of there, it is undisputed that Jalen Hurts is now the starting quarterback for the Eagles. And Eagles had a lot of struggles with their weapons last year. Can we hope for a healthy season for the Eagles? Let's start there.
I hope so. You know, Dallas Goedert is particular in one that there are some rumblings and expectations that Zach Ertz is going to be, you know, on his way out. If that is the case, I expect Dallas Goedert to easily be a top 10 tight end in PPR formats, if not top 5. I feel very confident about that. You know, Jalen Reagor is, you know, when it comes to dynasty, you know, outlook for some of these young players, it's so muddied because there's no guarantee, Sam, that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback. The Eagles sit at 6 right now. And could they have someone like Trey Lance? If somebody falls in love with Mac Jones? I mean, those are all kind of questions that make me raise an eyebrow. I don't think they're sniffing Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, but it's possible. So we don't know, depending on how the Eagles organization feels about one of these quarterbacks. Right now is an interesting time to be a Jalen Hurts owner in Dynasty, but if he is the starter, I feel very good about him being a top 15 option. And I'm definitely targeting him as my quarterback too, you know, in the middle to late rounds in a 2 QB league.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like that's something that dynasty owners especially need to keep in mind as we move into, you know, the draft and the prospects, and as people move up and down the board. Where the Eagles sit is really important, like you just said. So you don't want to overpay for Jalen Hurts right now, given what could happen in this draft.
I'm not going to say they missed on Jalen Reagor, but I've seen a lot of noise about Rager's a great buy low for Dynasty. And while I love his talent, you know, I thought it was a little bit underwhelming for a rookie year in a receiving core that, you know, Travis Fulgham really kind of was the one that stood out there and had a great run in the middle of the season. And then before he fell off the map. So there's a lot of unknown when it comes to this. I guess that means they're all a good bargain. But do I see a world possibly where the Philadelphia Eagles maybe commit to Jalen Hurts by investing that number 6 overall pick in Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase or whatever other receiver that you might fall in love with? I really like Rashad Bateman personally, but you know, I think Reagor is a nice late round dart throw because of maybe a post hype breakout. But I'm not going to get my hopes up too much on a Philadelphia pass catcher that's not named Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, that was me, my follow-up to that. So of those offensive weapons, as you're building your dynasty team right now off season, because for us, there's never an off season.
Never stops.
We never stop. We can't stop, won't stop. It's a problem. I think our loved ones would admit that there's a problem that we have when it comes to fantasy football. So when it comes to those weapons, though, is Dallas Goedert the only offensive weapon for the Eagles that you're targeting right now, just given that the landscape could shift so much between now and even just after the draft?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Goddard is my guy in that offense. Miles Sanders too. I think that Sanders wasn't really. Considering the situation and considering how much of a mess that organization was this year, and how much of an unceremonious end it came to in 2020 for Doug Peterson and the Eagles, I still think that Miles Sanders has shown me enough that the man can be a running back too, and has those flashy weeks where he can, pop with running back one numbers. But I just don't know what a new coaching staff always makes me nervous, Sam, when it comes to running backs, because they want to get their own guys in there. Could they invest through the draft as well? Also you don't want to have to pay a running back, which Miles Sanders, still has a couple of years left on his rookie deal, but those things are things I like to consider, when it comes to the Philadelphia offense, which is hard to really invest in right now as of this moment.
Absolutely. Will Jenkins agrees with you, by the way. He says, I think Sanders takes a big bump here.
I hope so.
Hopefully, yeah. I think Sanders owners would love to see him take a big bump there in that offense. But though I'm excited for Jalen Hurts to, get the starting job pending the draft, as long as, no new QBs get picked up in the mix, I think that it could be a really fun quarterback to watch this coming year. He's got a lot of flashes of really amazing talent, especially in the running game. And with the way that quarterbacks are shifting in fantasy in particular, we're going after those guys that are going to give you that high rushing floor. So I'm really excited to see what he could do.
I hope so too. Sirianni, he was brought in there for a reason. You would think that some of the success that he showed, having a successful running game back there in Indianapolis, hopefully that translates. That's hopefully why he got the damn job in the first place there in Philadelphia. His opening press conference was terrible, by the way. Did you catch it?
No, I did not.
Oh, he looked like he just, rolled out of bed, didn't take a look at any notes or anything like that. And just, his answer on like the whole Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts situation was just laughable, in particular now, because now Carson Wentz is gone. So, yeah. Whoopsie.
Jeez. Tim also bringing this up. He says, if Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith is drafted by the Eagles, or maybe Kyle Pitts, are you drafting them since they will most likely be the first option?
I would feel more confident in one of those two than I would in Jalen Reagor breaking out. Okay. I think Jamar Chase is the real deal. Same thing with Devonta Smith. They're two different players. But, particularly I really like Jamar Chase. Actually, he's my number one wide receiver in dynasty formats. I think he's the best wide receiver prospect in this draft. So, yes, I would. And by the way, Tim, I really hope that the damn Eagles do not take Kyle Pitts, because that would crush my soul as a Dallas Goedert truther, to bring in probably the best pass-catching tight end prospect in the last 10 years. Oh, No, thank you. That's good to know where you stand, though, in particular on Jalen Reagor. Like, I'm kind of ambivalent about Reagor. Like, it would be nice if he broke out, but I feel like he just didn't do it for me this past season. Well, there were problems with his route running. There were problems with communication. I also think that there were a couple times where, in particular, come to mind, he could have made better plays on the ball in the air, which is weird because I saw a ton of that at TCU. It just, he also was dealing with injuries throughout the year. So I want to give him a little bit of a pass. I don't want to say the jury is out on him yet, but for considering they took him, I think, over the likes of Justin Jefferson, if I remember correctly, not a good look.
And Justin Jefferson, oh my gosh, just real quick on Justin Jefferson. How amazing was he this year? He was the rookie I was most excited about once he ended up with the Vikings. And I was like, this 1-2 punch, guys, this is the perfect landing spot. This is going to be amazing. And it was amazing. I'm just so mad I don't have more shares of Justin Jefferson.
Twin gritty. I see the kids doing it nowadays, but Jefferson did that all the way into the end zone. So, I love his game. You talk about the route running. That is something that you saw that at LSU, and you tried to write it off as like, oh, he's playing in a great offense with other great options, and he had Joe Burrow and all this. No, he was really damn good. So, I'm just glad to see Justin Jefferson doing his thing. He's a guy I'm targeting in every league, but it's going to be hard to get him because now you have to pay a premium.
So just a quick comparison of the new situations that we're looking at with the Eagles and Wentz, pretending that Hurts has the job. They're not drafting another quarterback. He's the guy. It sounds like we're more confident in the weapons at Carson's disposal than Jalen's.
As of right now, that's my gut feeling. It's not just the weapons. It's not that I'm sitting here going Michael Pittman is 100% a better player than Jalen Reagor. It's the offensive line. It's the scheme that I feel confident in. I feel that Carson Wentz is back with the guy that he feels that he can trust in Frank Reich. I mean, that marriage, I mean, because him and Doug Peterson's relationship just completely deteriorated in public view. I mean, so yeah, it's like they got into a bar fight and it went viral. I mean, it's like that's what it felt like, cats and dogs all year. But so no, I'm more confident in that entire structure there in Indianapolis offensively than I am within Philadelphia. But I do feel like Jalen Hurts with his rushing capabilities. I mean, his floor that he gave you, I mean, he had 3 rushing touchdowns and 4 starts this year. So I feel very confident that Jalen Hurts could have a top 15 season if he is indeed the starter all season next year.
Yeah. I guess I'm just looking at it from the dynasty perspective of just making moves and who I'm going after. Because for me personally, I definitely need to shore up my QB2 position in at least one of my dynasty leagues. And so you're just kind of window shopping. Okay, what would you be willing to spend on Carson Wentz right now? Or is it a second round pick this year?
Definitely a second in a super flex league. Okay. I think he's worth the gamble there because if he does hit, you got yourself a starting quarterback probably for the next 3-4 years, which is great security in a dynasty format. But I'm personally not going to sink a first rounder into him, even in a super flex, just because his recent tape that we've seen was bad. So I'm personally saying a second sounds about right for me for Carson Wentz. For Jalen Hurts, he's even trickier because right now, if you're a Jalen Hurts owner, you're like, yes, he's the starter for this upcoming year. But there's also that risk if you try to trade for him and acquire him that the Eagles throw a curveball and they go get a veteran out on the free agent market to compete with Jalen Hurts, or they draft a guy at number 6. So I'm personally, it's a great hold for Jalen Hurts, but I'm not trying to acquire him because there's a lot of uncertainty moving forward with that Eagles situation.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I'm going to get to a couple more of these comments, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Saturday for us to cover this fun news of trades, and we will always be covering them every Saturday for you, so please tune in every Saturday. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. That way you never miss a video with us. Alex joining us saying, congrats on your Bucks, Tate.
Yeah, go Bucks.
Love it. Yeah. How happy are you? Is it still real for you that your Bucks won the Super Bowl?
Yes, it's sinking in. And I'm loving every second of it. So anytime anybody brings up the Bucks, let's just smile. I'm going to smile. And it's too funny that I see that a comment says, how's that Steelers onesie coming? I'm going to share my screen. I just ordered it.
Did you really?
Yesterday. I really did. And I'm going to share it. Hold on. Give me a second.
Will Jenkins jumping in there asking, because Tate lost a bet, ladies and gentlemen, to me this past season, and he had to get a Steelers onesie for his baby girl, Kennedy. And I was very excited about that.
Yep.
Yay.
Track package. We're good. That's it right there. And she will be rocking it probably next week when we have our episode. So
perfect. Cannot wait to see it. So thanks for that, Will. And then Victor Jays wanted to know, how's the cold weather back home after the sick Super Bowl? Good old Tampa.
Sucks. Thanks for asking.
It's cold there, right?
We're buried in snow. Like we have at least 2 feet on I'd say 2 feet on my lawn right now. It just keeps coming down. It won't stop. Snow belt.
Victor's always there with us with this one too. He says, Victor J says, if Deshaun doesn't want out of Texas now, he sure does. Ouch.
You're damn right. Get the hell out of there.
That is brutal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's like I said, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. You can follow myself on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt or at Sam_awesome on Instagram. And Tate keeps it simple for us. He is at DTater4 on all forms of social. Tate, any last words for the crew?
No, I love you all. Thank you for being understanding. I'm on Baby K duty this weekend, so I had to walk away for a split second. But no, I'm excited to jump into the offseason. Like this quarterback carousel, Sam, is going to be wild to kick off the 20. We've already seen, 2 former number 1 overall picks swap places, and both the number 1 and number 2 draft picks who both got big contracts back in the 2016 draft already traded to new teams. It's going to be a bonkers offseason, and I'm interested to go ahead and debate it with you. By the way, debate question. Who finishes the 2021 season with more fantasy points? Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz?
Ooh. That's really tough because I feel like the rushing floor for Hurts is going to be higher. I'm gonna say Carson Wentz.
I'm going Jalen Hurts. I don't know.
Hot take.
We can bet on it. We don't have to bet anything on it, but I feel like you're not confident enough to bet anything on this. Like,
no, not yet.
Just pride.
We'll make bets later in the season. But thanks guys for tuning in, and we will see you again next Saturday for another episode of the Fantasy Debate. Have a good one.
Bye.